and welcome to the beginner violin lesson number 2. For this lesson, you're going to need your violin. Make sure that your shoulder pad is on with the arrow pointing to the button on the bottom. You will need your bow and your rosin. And then, if you need your actual music, you're going to need a copy of Hot Cross Buns, the peas porridge hot, which you will have gotten at your second lesson, the bow exercises paper that you also just received at your lesson, and for all of the information that we're going over, you're going to want to make sure that you have your copy of your notes on lesson 2 that also includes the date of when your next lesson is going to be. So make sure you have all of those things when you're practicing. We're going to start today by tightening our bow. So the way you're going to tighten your bow is take the little metal piece at the bottom, and we need to turn it righty-tighty to make it tighter. So when you open your case, the hair should be nice and loose. So to play it though, we want it to be tight. So we're going to go righty-tighty just by spinning this at the bottom. What that does is it pulls the frog down. This is called the frog. And when that gets pulled down, it stretches the hair and makes it tighter until you're able to put your pinky through at the middle. Not at the tip, not at the frog, but right here at the middle. Now you don't want to actually touch the hair, so if your pinky isn't fitting through, don't force it through. Stop what you're doing. Tighten it until your pinky will fit. And make sure it's just one pinky. That's the perfect distance, is just your pinky. When that's done, you're going to take your rosin, and it really only takes about 5 to 10 swipes. And if you go to use your bow and it's not making a whole lot of sound, you'll need to use more rosin. But most of your bows should probably already have rosin, so you should be fine with just about 5 to 10 swipes. All right, so now let's go ahead and set our bows off to the side, because we're going to review everything we learned at our last lesson first. So, starting with our open strings. So we have 4 strings. We have the biggest one, which is called G. The next one is D. The next one is A. And the last one is E. So we're going to start with rest position. Make sure, and remember, I'm opposite from you. This is my left side, but that's your left side. So you should have your violin on your left knee. You should be holding it with your left hand on the left side of the violin, and we're going to put it up on our left shoulder. And from here, we want to check and make sure that we can hold our violin without any hands, so that when we do add our fingers, it's not our hand holding the instrument up, but our jaw. This left side of our jaw is holding the instrument up. Make sure that we're not pointing it forward, we're not pointing it up to the sky, but it's really just an extension of your left shoulder, and you should be able to comfortably hold it up without any hands. Okay, we'll put our duck back on. We're going to take our other hand and wave. Take your thumb, plant it on the end of the fingerboard, the black piece of wood, and reach all the way to the biggest string. Remember, that phrase was good dogs always eat. So we're going to say good, good, good as we pluck the first string, the thickest, the biggest string, the furthest away from your thumb. Ready? 3 times of each. Here we go. Good, good, good. Now the next one. Dogs, dogs, dogs. The next one. Always, always, always. And then eat, eat, eat. All right, let's go back and we're going to do one of each. Just one. Ready? Biggest string. Here we go. Good. Dogs. Always. Eat. Now let's just say the first letter of each one of those strings. So for good, you'll say G. Here we go. G, D, A, E. Now let's stay here on this E string, the skinny string. We're going to take our duck, we're going to slide down the slide to the very end of the violin. And remember, we have 4 fingers and we have 4 tapes. Today for Hot Cross Buns, we only need 2 fingers. We're just going to put our pointer finger on the first tape. So right here on this tape is where your pointer finger will go. And then your middle finger will go on the second string. Now you should notice that my hand is not flat against the bottom of the fingerboard or the neck of the violin, but instead it's dropped. So this can be relaxed. So we have our two fingers on the skinny string E. We're going to take our other hand, wave, put your thumb on the fingerboard. Make sure you're not holding it up here, but your jaw, it's your jaw. And we're going to pluck mi, then re, then do, and it will sound like this. Just listen first. Mi, re, do. Let's try it together. Ready? And here we go. Mi, re, do. Now if you're getting a sound like this, we call that a dud. And what happens, or what's happening, is that your finger is not pulling the string all the way against the fingerboard. So if you're just resting your finger on top of it, it's not going to sound very nice. You have to actually pull the string all the way down. Same thing with your pointer finger. And then it's pretty easy with the open string. So there it is. All right, let's do, you play phrases 1, 2, and 4, and I'll do this phrase 3. Again, we're on the E string. You can do a quick check, make sure you're not holding it with any hands, you're just using it, you're just holding it with your jaw. Okay, so we have 2 fingers. We're planting our thumb at the end of the fingerboard. You're doing the first 2 phrases, I'll take 3, and then you take 4. 1, 2. Ready, go, mi, re, do. Back to 2 fingers. Mi, re, do. My turn. Do, 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 re, 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 mi, re, do. Let's switch. I'll do phrases 1, 2, and 4. And you take this one that begins on do. Now think, how are you going to play do? 2 fingers, 1, or 0? The answer is 0 fingers. So be ready to do 0 for do and then 1 for re for that phrase 3. Here I go. I'll do everything except for phrase 3. That's you. Mi, re, do. Mi, re, do. Your turn. Do, 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 re, re, re. Mi, re, do. And now, of course, let's see if we can do the entire song without stopping. Check that posture. You should be sitting tall at the edge of your chair, feet flat on the floor. Drop that wrist. Don't let it touch. We're going to have our 2 fingers on the E string, the skinny one with our thumbs planted. Whole song. Good luck. Ready, and here we go. Mi, re, do. Mi, re, do. Do, 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 re, 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 mi, re, do. All right, so now the other thing you were supposed to have done for today was put the fingers on a different string. So rather than being on the skinny string E, let's try to do it on our very first string, G, our lowest, biggest, thickest string. So here's what we need to do. 2 things. Thing number 1, we need to put our 2 fingers on the G. So rather than the skinny string, let's put both of those fingers on your big, thick string G. And then when we plant our thumb, rather than getting ready to pluck with our pointer finger right here, on the E string, you need to reach all the way over to G. Again, make sure you're pulling your fingers against the fingerboard and that your wrist is not touching. Okay, so here we go. 2 fingers. We're going to do the whole song on G. 1, 2, ready, go. Mi, re, do. Back to 2. Mi, re, do. Do, 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 re. Now if that was hard, or if you haven't done it before, make sure you're practicing it on every single string, on the D string and on the A string. And when you're ready, you can come on back. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to pause. If not, if you feel really good, that was awesome, then we're going to move on to our new song. Our new song is Peas Porridge Hot. And I think we'll do this one on the E string again. So we'll go back to that skinny string. Now just listen real quick. Peas porridge hot. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to sing the words first time together. We're going to see how it matches up with the solfege. Ready, and here we sing. Peas porridge hot. Peas porridge cold. Peas porridge in the fingers, which is some like it hot, some like it cold, some like it in a pot, 9 days old. Alright. So I'm going to play every phrase except the last one. You're going to do phrase 4. Mi, re, do. That should be very easy from our hot cross buns. And I'll take the first 3. So again, edge of your chair, feet flat on the floor, left side, left shoulder. Make sure you're sitting with it not being held with your hand, but with your jaw. We're going to put our first finger and our second finger on the skinny string E. Okay, plant your thumbs, and just be ready to play phrase 4. I'll take the rest. Ready, and here I go. Me, 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 me. Re, 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 re. Do, 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 do. Mi, re, do. Let's add in phrase 1. So now you have phrase 1 and phrase 4. I'll take the 2 middles. Are you going to play me again? 2 fingers. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. Here you go. Me, 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 me. My turn. Re, 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 re. Do, 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 do. Mi, re, do. All right, let's add in phrase 2. Quick. How are you gonna play re? Think about it. Not 2 fingers. Not 0 fingers. 1. So when you get to phrase 2, you're going to get rid of 1 finger, go down to 1. Here we go from the beginning. You're starting on me. 1, 2, and ready, go. Me, 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 me. 1 finger. Re, 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 re. My turn. Do, 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 do. Me, re, do. And of course the grand finale is, can we do the entire song without stopping? So when you get to do, make sure you're doing your open E string. Here we go. Plant that thumb, drop that wrist. Ready, and whole song go. Me, 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 me. Re, 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 re. Do, 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 do. Me, re, do. There you go. So that's the entire song. Now, just like hot cross buns, since we were using mi, re, and do, that's going to work on every other string. So you should be practicing it on G, and of course on the D string and the A string as well. Whatever string you're on, make sure your fingers are on the string where the tapes are, but also make sure you're plucking that string as well. All right, so that's everything with our pizzicato, with our plucking. Now we're going to get to talk a little bit about bowing. Okay, so for this, what we're going to do is we're going to carefully set our violin down, so you're not going to need it for the next minute or 2. And we're going to pick up our bows. Now I'm going to do this backwards so that we look exactly the same, a mirror image. So what we're going to do, this is the frog, and this is the tip. I'd like you to hold it out in front of you like this. Okay, now with your right hand, you're going to turn your right hand into a jellyfish. So you're going to shake it out, make it nice and loosey-goosey, and you're going to go blub, blub, blub. Make it nice and loose so these fingers are curved. The bow is going to go under the jellyfish, and it's going to lift up on your fingers. Notice how relaxed my hand is when I lift up. Those fingers are just curling around the front. I'm not grabbing it, it's just relaxed. So let's do that again. Blub, blub, blub. Take your bow, put it underneath, and I'm aiming for this middle knuckle right here. That's where the bow goes under. We lift up, and now step 2 is we're going to actually take our hand, and I call it turning the doorknob. So you're going to take your hand and imagine you're holding a doorknob, and when you curve your fingers like that, what happens is your pinky's able to go on the top. So this is what it looked like from jellyfish phase 1. Then we go to the next one where we turn the doorknob, and your pinky's going to be able to sit nice and on top of that bow. The last step is your thumb. Your thumb is going to bend to the ground, and it's going to go right underneath the stick of the bow, right beside the end of the frog here. And since it's bent, it's actually going to touch the hair right here on the bow. And I know I told you don't let the hair be touched. Don't put your fingers anywhere on it except for right here. That's okay. So let's do all 3 steps. Shake it out. Make sure you're nice and loose. Take the bow, go underneath at the middle knuckle, lift up, turn the doorknob, take your thumb, bend it, and put it on the stick underneath. And when you do that, it's probably going to touch the hair, and that's okay. Notice your pinky is on top. Now here's why I said bend your thumb. If you bend your thumb like this, when you go and feel right here, you're going to notice that that muscle is relaxed. If you bend your thumb the other way and you hold it there, this muscle is flexing, and that's not going to be relaxing. You don't want to flex muscles you don't need. So when I say loosey-goosey, I mean all of your fingers are relaxed. We lift up, turn the doorknob, pinky's on top, your thumb is bent to the ground, and it goes on the stick of the bow underneath there. So this is what it should look like. Some of you, when you go to play with your violin, you're going to start to fall off the back. That's turning the doorknob the wrong way. And some of you might just grab it with a fist. You want to avoid that. Try to learn the bow hold completely correctly so that when we go to play really fast and fun, exciting songs, we're able to do it. We can't do it if our hand looks like this. So this is the way it needs to look, just like that. All right, so now we need to pick up our violins with our correct bow holds. I'm going to switch back to the side I really hold with my bow. I'm going to make sure I'm holding my violin up without my hand. And I'm going to put my duck here right now. For now, I'm going to set my bow on the violin. Now there are 3 places that I can play. I can go right beside the bridge. That's lane 1. I can go at the very end of this fingerboard right here. That's lane 2. And I could go over top of the fingerboard. That's lane 3. We want to stay in lane number 2. That's going to sound the best. And the rhythm that I'm going to play in bow exercise number 1 is taka-dee-me-ta-dee, taka-dee-me-ta-dee. Now I wrote D string. We don't have to start on D. We're actually going to start on the E string together today. So I take my bow with my correct bow hold, and I set it on the E string. And I'm going to play, and then we'll see if you can play it back and make it sound the same as me in lane 2. So I'll play, then you play. Taka-dee-me-ta-dee. So that was you echoing. My turn. I'll play it, you play it back. See if you can make it sound the same. Taka-dee-me-ta-dee. All right, I think we're ready. We're going to do the whole thing. It happens 2 times, but there's a repeat sign, so that means we get to do it 2 more, a total of 4 times. Here we go. Make sure you're in lane 2. You're not by the bridge. You're by the end of the fingerboard. 1, 2, 4 times. Here we go. So that's bow exercise number 1. But that was only on the E string. So after you're able to do the E string without touching another string, we should go over to the A string, the next string. What I did was I just gently rocked my bow, changing which string it's touching. I'm actually looking at my string to make sure I'm only touching the A string. When you go to do the A string, you might hear this. Or this. If you hear more than one sound, it's because you're hitting more than one string. So be careful to only hit the A string. I'll play. See if you can make it sound exactly the same. Taka-dee-me-ta-dee. My turn. Taka-dee-me-ta-dee. Now let's play it 4 times together on the A string. Make sure you're in lane 2, not lane 3, not lane 1. And if your bow hold is falling apart, you can redo the jellyfish. Blub, blub, blub. Lift up, turn the doorknob, pinky on top, thumb on the bottom. Always check and make sure that bow hold is correct. So here we go on the A string, 4 times. Ready? And here we go. Now from here, we're going to rock to the D string. So go ahead and look. Make sure it's touching only D. I'll play. You play. Here I go. Taka-dee-me-ta-dee. Taka-dee-me-ta-dee. We're ready to play 4 4 times. All 4 times together, 1 and 2, D string, here we go. One more. You guessed it, the last one is G, so rock on over. I'll play, then you play. Here I go. Hold on, my G's a little out of tune. Redo. Here I go. Takadimi tadi. Takadimi tadi. All right, now we do 4 times. Try to make sure you only hit the G for all 4 times. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, so that's bow exercise number 1. You should continue practicing bow exercise number 1 until you're able to do all 4 strings without touching any other string. If you're still getting this sound, you're still hitting 2 strings, so make sure you hit just 1. Practice it for a while. When you're comfortable, come back and we can do bow exercise number 2. So go ahead and pause it if you need to keep working on exercise number 1. All right, bow exercise number 2. We actually get to switch back and forth between 2 strings. So the example I gave you was to play Takadimi on D and then play the Tadi on the A string. But since we've been practicing a lot on the E string, we can start with that one. So I'll play it first, watch what I do, and then you are going to do the same thing back. I'm going to do Takadimi on E, and then Tadi on A. So let's listen and see what that sounds like, and then you play it back. So I'm all set up to play E string. Here I go. Let's see how you do. Ready, and here you go. Takadimi Tadi. Oh, but we could also do Takadimi on A and the Tadi on E. I could do opposite. Here I go. You try it. A string. Ready, go. There you go. So you can do that on every adjacent string. That means any string that's right beside each other. So you could do G and D. You could do D to G. Notice I'm only hitting 1 string. If you're hitting more than 1 string, you might need to go back and practice bow exercise number 1 a little longer. So bow exercise number 2, do that with every possible combination on your 2 strings that are right beside each other. All right, go ahead and pause, practice that for a while, and when you're ready, come on back for bow exercise number 3. All right, so bow exercise number 3 actually allows us to start putting our fingers on the tapes up here. So first thing we need to do is check our posture. Edge of our chair, feet flat on the floor, left side. Be able to hold your violin up without any hands. Then you can take that duck and slide it back. On the E string, we're going to put our bow. And it says we're going to do Takadimi Tadi with 0 fingers. We'll add a finger, add a finger, add a finger, add a finger. So just watch the first time. Adding another. It's very important you're pulling the string all the way against the fingerboard. If you're not doing that, you're going to get So if you get those sounds, it's probably because you're not pulling the string all the way down. And also notice my wrist. I'm not holding the violin up with my wrist, with my arm. I'm holding it up with my jaw. All right, let's check those bow holds. Make sure you're still doing the jellyfish. Turn the doorknob pinky on top, thumb goes on the bottom of the stick, and your thumb is bent to the ground. Okay, so here we go. We're on the E string and we're sliding our duck back, setting it down. 1, 2, ready, go. Add your first. Add your second. Add your third. And fourth. Now notice I was putting those right on the tapes. If you don't hit the tape square on, you're not going to get the right sound. So make sure you're right on your tapes, and it helps to be on your fingertips too, of course. Now there is a repeat sign, so after that fourth finger you can go back and do it again. So let's play it twice this time without stopping on the E string. 1, 2, ready, go. Second finger. Back to 0. First finger. Second finger. Third finger. Fourth finger. There you go. All right, so you should practice that on every single string. Just be mindful that if you go to play on G, the very first string, not only do you have to put your fingers on G, but you have to rock your bow all the way over to G. And it'll sound like this. Fingers on the G, still bowing on G. If you're having any trouble with hitting only one string at a time, you might need to go back and review exercises 1 and 2 to make sure that you're able to bow only one string at a time. So go ahead and pause it, practice that on all 4 strings. And when you're ready, I'll see you back here for bow exercise number 4. All right, bow exercise number 4 actually starts at the end of bow exercise number 3. So we actually are going to start with all 4 fingers. Let's go ahead and stay on the E string. You're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers down, bow on the E string. Make sure you're pulling the strings all the way against the fingerboard. Make sure your wrist isn't touching. And you have a correct, relaxed, loose bow hold. Starting 4 fingers, and we're going to go down. We're going to release a finger each time. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, with your pinky play. Release. 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 And 0. Of course, that works on the A string. Just make sure whichever one you start on, your fingers are actually on that string and your bow is on the same string. Again, remember we're in lane 2. So go ahead and practice that for a little while. When you feel like you're doing a really awesome job, then you're ready for bow exercise number 5. I'll see you when you're there. All right, the final bow exercise. This is the trickiest of all of them. This is when we're actually going to do one finger, or let me say that differently. You're going to use a certain number of fingers for each beat. So let's see here. 0, 0, 0, sorry. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3. So it ends up looking something like this. Then back down. Since there's a repeat sign, we can go back and go to 0. And if you want it to sound over, you can end with a regular 0 at the very end. All right, so let's try it together. Let's make sure we're having a good posture, sitting tall, edge of your chair. Hand comes back. It's not holding the instrument because your jaw is doing that. We're in lane 2, and here we go, starting with 0 for the takadimi, and plop down your first finger for the toddy. 1, 2, ready, go. Back to the beginning. All 5 of your bow exercises. When you're able to do all 5 of them on all 4 of your strings, and you're getting a really beautiful sound, then you're finally ready for the grand finale. And the grand finale is when we go back to hot cross buns, and you can play your solfege with your bow. So if I'm on the E string, I would get 2 fingers. I would be in lane 2 on the E string with my bow, and it's going to sound like this. Mi, re, do, mi, re, do, 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 re, 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 mi, re, do. And then also, you can play peas porridge hot, and that will sound like this on the E string. I'm going to start with 2 fingers for me. My bow is on the E string, my fingers are on the E string, wrist is dropped. Here I go. Mi, 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 mi. Re, 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 re. Do, 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 do. Mi, re, do. And of course you can both of those songs on each of your strings. So you can play it on G, on D, on A, and on E. All right, the final tip I want to give you, which I should have given to you at the beginning of the video, but I forgot, is make sure when you're bowing, and you should have your parents help you with this, make sure that you are not playing at an angle. The natural thing that happens if you're at an angle when you go to bow is the bow actually is pulled and it'll slide back and forth. See if you can see it. And it gives you this fading in and out sound. And the loud parts are going to be when you're actually in lane number 2. But you want to stay in lane number 2, so you have to make sure that your bow is parallel to the bridge or parallel to the end of the fingerboard, whichever one makes more sense to you. But have your parents watch. If you're having a hard time understanding what they're saying, maybe they could record you on their phone or some kind of a tablet and then show you, and you'll be able to see which way the tip is pointing, which way you need to adjust to make sure you are parallel. All right, finally, the last thing you need to know is make sure you put your bow lefty-loosey, lefty-loosey, lefty-loosey until the hair can wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And your shoulder pad needs to come off before you put it away in the case, and we put the thick side down into the scroll in your case. And of course, don't forget, I'm sure you just practiced a whole lot, so pay attention to how many minutes you got. Write it on your practice log. Don't forget to get that signed and bring it into me to your next lesson. All right, happy practicing. See you in lesson 3.